Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 2.0. I am so happy to be back on your screen, so happy to be back in your house. I just want to thank you for coming back week after week to listen to the wonderful topics that we are discussing here on this show. So if you did not have a chance to watch the last episode, so this month, since it's the month of June, it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So in honor of that, we are doing a couple of episodes dedicated to men's mental health. So as I said, we had episode 1 that dropped last Wednesday. If you didn't have the opportunity to watch it, I would encourage you to go back and watch it now and then come back for part 2. And don't forget, as always, if you have not had the chance to hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do that now and be part of the 2.0 family. We appreciate you coming back week after week. We appreciate all the love and support. So without further ado, let's dive into the second episode right after this. And you know what, not to cut you off or not to, stir chaos or anything like that or trouble, but I guess that's one of the reasons they say, single mom shouldn't be really raising boys.
No, I totally agree.
Because you cannot raise a man.
A woman cannot, and excuse me, a woman cannot teach a man how to be a man.
Right.
I want to say something to that point.
Sure, go ahead.
Men are integral parts of a family.
Oh, absolutely.
Men are the foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I will never take that from them.
Absolutely.
And for a girl child and a boy child, right? Having that father role. Yes, we nurture, we care. That's where we stop.
Yep.
You are the structure. So when I see households where men are not being men and leading and doing what they need to do and taking care of themselves so they can be that, that's a problem.
It is a problem.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
I feel, to be honest, men, fathers are more important than mothers, in my opinion. Like I said, you mold the family.
Yeah, you do.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
It's so sad to know that men are, like I said, neglected, underserved, underappreciated.
Right.
When you are the
foundation.
backbone.
Yeah, you're the backbone. Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our parts, right, in the in the family dynamics, and it's equally important. But at the same time, it's like, just like you said, your grandmother and your mother, they raised you to be the husband that they needed, which wasn't present at the time. So unfortunately, it's like you had this, not necessarily a burden, but I think it was a burden, right? Because you had to live up to whatever expectation.
At a very early age. Huge shoes to fill.
Exactly. To whatever expectation that they, they had dreamed that men to be, and then they wanted you to fill that position, wanted you to fill that shoe. And unfortunately, it's like, you struggled in it, right?
A lot more than I would like to admit.
Yeah.
Obviously, not being taught how to feel feelings or how to identify emotions, or not being taught on how to deal with life.
Yeah.
Right? Because as long as I work and I provide and I protect, everything's okay.
Got it.
Not emotionally intelligent at all.
Yeah.
Yep. So to answer your question, right, my first initial dive, was in 2021, and then I kind of just ran with it.
Got it.
And it was a scary door to open.
Yeah.
It was very scary.
Yeah. And there was another thing you said, I wanted to touch up on that a little bit, right? You said, you were like a high functioning human, right? You had the house, you had the car, you had spouse, you had kids, you had a job, so from outside looking in,
there was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong.
So you're meeting the goals, man. You're doing everything that you're supposed to do.
Because I know we're supposed to check off the boxes.
Right. But yet, mentally, it's
at night.
Yeah, you're struggling. You're like, what is going on? Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, right? So as men, like you said, at night or when we are alone in the apartment by ourselves or whatever, in the truck by yourself, it's just you and your thoughts.
Yeah.
That's tough. It could be scary.
It's like, just think of, like the phrase, right? Open the floodgates.
Yeah.
Right. Just think of that. Because for me personally, when a thought would come, it wasn't just one thought.
Yeah.
It was like a domino effect. One memory, one thought would lead to another, and then another, and then another. And I believe the term is called ruminating, right? And then
look at you. You've been doing the work, man.
Listen. I've done some growing. This ain't the Eddie y'all met back in 2011, right? Is that when we met? 2010, 2011, right? Yeah. Nah, I've learned some things.
You've been doing some
I've learned some things, and ruminating is something that happens, right? Open the floodgates.
Yeah.
So for us, for men, I'm sure for women it's the same thing, but for men, it's this overwhelming sensation of not knowing how to organize your thoughts.
Yeah. And Danielle, I'm sure that's something you've heard of, right? Like a man would tell you that they're afraid of being alone with just them and their thoughts.
Of course.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How do you respond to that?
It's I'm to kind of veer off of that. I was, as you both were talking, men get hurt by words. Women are hurt by actions, right? So when you're ruminating, you're thinking of these words, provider, these expectations, right? These words are beating you down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you're having these thoughts, they're words, right? I have to think about these things, what I'm not doing or what I'm not capable of doing or I'm not able to access. Scary. And again, right, like I said, men do talk about this often when I see them in sessions.
Yeah.
And again, their struggle is, how do I move past these words that are binding me? So both of you have talked about expectation, right?
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer expectations come from God and nobody else. So to be binded to those things is also not fair. And as I said, women are primarily the ones that create the expectation and hold you accountable to it, right?
Yeah.
So and when we do that, how are we supporting you? I think we become part of the problem.
It's a slippery slope.
It is.
It is
I'll
a
be the
very
first to
slippery
say
slope.
it.
It
We
is a
become part
slippery
of the
slope.
problem.
Ooh, Danielle, you're gonna get a lot of
That's
a lot of
fine.
heat for this.
We do. I'm going to own that. We do. We're not always, but we become a part of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I said it starts with those boy moms.
Yeah.
create the tone,
Yeah.
and sometimes the wives continue it. But what's important to be that wife or to be that partner, we also have to put our foot down again in a healthy way
Yeah.
to recalibrate you.
Yeah.
We got to bring you back.
Yeah,
That's our
yeah.
job.
Right.
Yeah.
Not just think, well, okay, he's doing this and he. No.
Yeah.
When you see a problem, you fix it, right?
Yeah,
So if I see a man that I'm with not leading, I'm gonna say, what's up? You know,
Yeah.
I'm not leading.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
What's up? Just like if
Yeah.
I'm not taking care of them, hey,
What's going on around
Yeah.
here?
we're accountability partners.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're not
exactly.
pointing fingers, but
Yeah.
we're
And
working
and that's why communication is important, right?
But
And-
but here's the problem with that, right? Unless you're in the right headspace,
Yeah.
that can come
don't
off as
hear
an
that.
attack.
You don't
That's,
hear
No,
that's
it's an attack because a man who's not emotionally in tune with himself,
that's true.
if he gets asked by his counterpart, "Hey, listen, how come you didn't fix that like you said you was?"
Yeah.
Oh, well, I got 1,001 things to do. Can't you see that? Can't you
Yeah.
realize? Whoa,
Yeah.
and
wait.
that's our job to soften the blow.
right.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
But then you go to a woman and you say, "Hey, listen, I just got home from work. I'm hungry. How come you haven't cooked anything?" Oh, boy, don't you see? I got to tell the whole house to take. Hey, whoa,
Well, that goes back to what you were saying about communication, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
When the communication is already gone, that's what you get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you start a relationship, and that's what I mean, that premarital therapy, those
detrimental.
conversations,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
not just communication, effective communication is super important.
Yes.
So that when we have uncomfortable conversations, it's not a trigger. Because guess what? I'm not here to punch you or to
No.
bully you, right? I'm here to empower you and complement your role. So that's when the most successful relationships happen, when we're complementing each other's role.
Having the hard
not
conversations.
belittling you, not telling you what you're not doing.
I like that.
But saying, hey,
Yeah.
everything okay? I noticed you were, hey,
Yeah.
what's going on? I got to bring you back. I got to reel it back in, right?
I like what you said. I'm here to empower you and compliment
That's
you.
the role.
That's it, right? Just
Not kick you while you're down.
Yeah.
No, just add to what's going on,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or support what's going on. And you said something very important for me earlier too. It's just like men are hurt by words, you know? And I'm a firm believer, right?
Yeah.
That, and it's not about being soft or being whatever, right? What you say to a man is not as important as how you say it.
Yeah.
You can use your words.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can pick a slur of words. How you say those words is
Yep.
very, very important.
Absolutely.
Because now what happens is, and I'm speaking from my own experience, right? With my journey, right? Because for me, mental health isn't just a one-time thing. It's an ongoing journey every day, right? With what I experienced in my childhood and then in my marriage, I became hypervigilant. Now I'm looking to be hurt all the time.
Wow.
By words and actions. So what that does is now it creates a defensive version of myself. Yeah. Because why are you talking to me like that?
Yeah.
I was like, no way, I didn't mean anything by it. I'm just like,
Yep.
I don't appreciate your
You always
tone.
you always have your guards up.
Why didn't you do this when you walk by? You always do that. Wait a minute, do you not want me around here anymore? Like, wait, what's up?
Yeah.
Hypervigilance is annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super annoying.
Yeah.
Right?
You said something in the conversation the two of you had previously, right? That stood out to me when you were saying, your wife wanted you home more,
Yes.
but you said, if I'm going to be home more and scale back work, I need help,
I need help.
right?
It's not easy to say that. As a man, it's not easy to say I need help.
That statement, and again, I don't know the conversation, I'm not placing any judgment, but that statement would have been, I guess, easier for you if it was well received and responded with, let me help you, let me complement your role. I think things would have been a little bit different for you. I'm assuming
For sure.
If it was met with more support and maybe willingness to figure out what that even looks like for you. Forget the complimenting the role for a second.
Yeah.
Let me figure out what that means for you.
Emotional
what
intelligence.
What it means for me and you is two different things.
Right.
And that's the next thing, right? We define things differently.
Definitely,
So
yeah.
what do you mean when you say that and not, oh, well, I can't do that. It's no. I need to understand what you mean by that first.
Yep.
Because it could mean something. So it could be me, just sit right here next to me.
That's it. Just
Oh, that's it? Okay.
just be present.
You know what I mean?
Just
Yeah.
be present.
You have to, and communication
Right, yeah.
brings that information up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So when I heard you say that, I always put myself in other shoes of like, man, if someone asks me for support because I'm asking for something and they need something in return, how can I be more conscious of complimenting back
Right.
what I'm looking for from you?
Or even ask the question, right? What does
curious.
that look like? What do you need help in?
Yeah.
Right.
Where do you need help at? What is it that I can do?
Exactly.
Right? I need help isn't an attack.
Right.
It's a request for help.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And just to bring it back around the the fact that Danielle, you mentioned men get hurt by words, right? So, and the flip side to that, if you think about it, like me, for example, like one of my love languages is words of affirmation, right? And I'm pretty sure most men, right, their love language is probably words of affirmation as well, right? Because you like to hear, when you like to hear compliments when you're doing good things, right? Especially in the house. But in the same time, just the same way you get elevated by words, you can be destroyed by words as well.
1000%. That's usually
So
what
it's almost the exact opposite. So that's why what you said is, it's like it's so powerful, right? Because if you think about it, you like getting compliments on things that you're doing well, but at the same time, when it's criticism or when it's not,
And then to like tap into that, right? Because from my perspective, right, it's like to be told thank you is the world.
yeah,
Right? Someone from my experience, someone who grew up with the mindset that I have to perform for love. To be told thank you or to be told great job was the world to me. Right? I just need a little bit of acknowledgement.
yep,
Right? That was and I don't mean just I'm not always gonna refer to my marriage, just overall, just life, parents, friends, like we look for those things, right? And it's funny that you mentioned love language, right? Because I feel like over the course of time, mine has been all over the place, right? Like I even asked myself the question when I self-reflect a lot. It's just like, man, am I needy? Am I really that guy?
Yeah.
But it's like, you know what? Seasons change, our mood change, our requirements change over time. I might not need something now that I did that I needed before, or I might need it today and not tomorrow. Everything changed, and that's where it's important to reflect daily, to choose that space that you're gonna. How am I as a person doing? Or how can I better serve my community, my household, my kids, my friendships? How am I doing?
yeah.
First.
And like you said, it's not just an romantic relationships, right? It's not just about relationships, but it's in general term, like even at work, right? When you do something, when you complete a project, or when you complete a task, right? It was, especially if you feel like you work hard at it, it was difficult. It took a lot of coordination. It took a lot of stuff for you to get to the point where it's finally been done, right? So getting some acknowledgement from your superior or your supervisor, your manager or coworkers or something like that.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good,
Yeah.
right? So it's important, that words, when you hear things, it actually elevate your spirit, So that's important. But going back to what we were saying earlier, Danielle, when we talked about men being afraid of being alone with their thoughts, like how do we approach that?
Well, the hard part is accepting what those thoughts are and recognizing they're problematic. That's a journey in itself.
Yeah.
I can't coach you through that part of it. But
Right.
once you get to the point where you've accepted the thoughts, that's when you can decide, I need help working through them because these are detrimental to me, what I'm going through. These are bringing me down, or they're messing with my mental health. So once you get to the phase of I've accepted, I'm having these thoughts, I'm struggling with them, because that's a big part.
Right.
Being vulnerable, saying I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Then you could do the next step to say I need some help and talk to someone. Then that's where the real work comes in.
Okay.
I tell clients all the time, if you're not a customer in session, therapy can't work. You can't just show up, oh, I was told to go to therapy.
Step is almost like, accepting it's okay
Yeah.
to have those thoughts, but not act on them.
Right.
Yeah, that's it's a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of men struggle with that. And going back to the divorce that we were talking, especially post-divorce, right? So we see there's like an increase in mental issues or mental health issues after divorce. I forgot what the statistics was, but they talk about like how many men actually end up committing suicide after divorce, because they find themselves in a situation where they don't really know how to process all of the emotions.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, you were in a house with a spouse, with kids, you had a life, and now all of a sudden it's vanished,
Gone.
right? So now you're finding yourself in a 1-bedroom apartment or wherever it is, maybe in your mom's basement, and now you processing all of these things, right? That happens, and inevitably you're gonna start questioning yourself. You're gonna start feeling like a failure, feeling some shame and guilt, right? So you can understand why someone would decide that, you know what, they don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah, and you start to spiral.
And especially if they have to to endure like a custody battle for their kids, so it's just like it's just compound problems,
Yeah, a lot of layers to it.
a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, remember that men tie their value to their pride and their ego.
Yeah.
So once that's bruised, you got a problem.
Big one.
Yeah. So to all the things that you're mentioning, that goes back to pride and ego
Yeah.
being affected. So if my pride and ego is affected, there goes my value, there goes my identity, there goes everything I stand for. Again, what is left? Scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs, I'm telling you.
Scrambled eggs.
And that was just some random thing that had popped into my head too, right? Because, how did you come up with the term scrambled eggs? I was making Ezra breakfast,
Wow.
right?
Scrambled eggs, scatterbrain, I mean, you name it.
And like I shared with you guys previously, right? Like that day that I had the suicidal thought, Ezra captured that image, right? Which to this day I'm forever grateful to that kid. Like he doesn't know, he doesn't realize how
What
much
he
he's
did.
taught
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And not just being a father, but my son taught me how to be a man. Right? And I don't mean like, broad shoulders and structured jawline. I'm a man.
Yeah.
No, how to be emotionally tuned as a man. Right? Because when I found that image, it broke me because that's what my kid sees.
Yeah.
My kid saw my broken version.
Yeah.
The part that nobody ever got to see.
Right.
So my moment of vulnerability was when I shared that photo and the story behind it. So one day I'm sitting there, right, when my ex-wife was pregnant with my third kid, with Elias, I had to take some time off of work, right, to go take care of the house because she got put on bed rest. So one day I'm sitting there and I'm making breakfast. Ezra don't like eggs. I wasn't making eggs for Ezra. I was making eggs for Eliana. But I'm just sitting there, right? Ezra's there as usual, just talking, right? Just talking. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking. I was just like, oh. That's what my brain looks like right now. We're just gonna keep cooking.
Yeah, there's so much
right?
going on.
You just crack the egg, right? You crack your brain open.
Yeah.
You spill all your thoughts. You put the egg on the pan.
Yep.
And then you just start
Scramble
moving
it.
around. Like, how you feeling? I have no idea. I just know I gotta keep stirring the eggs so they don't stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Scrambled eggs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was tough for me to realize that because identity, ego. I'm in charge of these little humans.
Yeah.
We've decided to bring into the world.
Yeah.
I have an expectation on their behalf. Not that they've placed it on me, but I already have a responsibility. I'm supposed to make sure that I raise these humans to be able to survive in a world without me. That's my role as a dad.
Yeah.
Right? Teach my kids how to survive in my absence. I don't even know how to get through my day on my own. How am I supposed to teach these kids how to survive a world that's changing every single day?
Yeah.
Right? I work, I provide, I protect. I could teach them that, but then what if somebody goes to my kid and asks, "Hey Ezra, how you doing?" Or
Yeah.
"Hey Eliana, how you doing?" I don't even know how to answer that question.
Right. Right. So Eddie, I want to take you back to that day when you decided to Google your feelings. Right. So say you come across a video or show like we're doing right now. what would you have wanted to hear in order to help you? Like, think of that person, somebody who's Googling or somebody who's in that same situation as you were a couple of years ago.
It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not meet the standard. It's okay to not fit the bill. It's okay to not fill the shoe. Right? It's okay to come up short sometimes. It's okay to not be okay. What's not okay is acting like you're okay when you're not okay.
Okay.
Right? Because what that did for me was it created a persona. And not to say that I've been fake. You guys have known me for over 2 decades.
Right.
It's not fake. It was a wall that was built to hide or protect what was behind that wall.
Yeah.
So if I was coming across Google one day and I typed in, why do I feel heavy, was the word that I would use a lot, right? Like, why does my brain feel heavy? Why does my body feel heavy? I would have liked to have heard at the time, you're not okay, and that's okay. Right? Because I didn't seek a therapist until it was too late. That's why I decided I wanted to get divorced. That's when I said, I gotta talk to somebody, because I self-medicated.
Yeah.
Right? So, and what that did for me was it created a mess here, because now everything starts to flood. Everything starts to rush my mind. I'm feeling everything on the spectrum, right? I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling willing. No motivation. It's like it was everywhere because everything flooded, and I didn't have. I didn't have because I didn't seek the professional assistance and helping me understand what was happening and organizing my thoughts properly.
Okay.
Right. What that created was hypervigilance and an unusual realization of attachment styles. Right. And then it's like I kind of fell into a funk for a little bit, because it's just like, wait, I am needy. But it's not my fault. Right. To some degree. Right. Because I'm trying to.
What do you mean by needy? Let me hear it. What do you mean by that?
I require a lot of attention.
Okay.
What
is wrong with that?
I'm learning there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
At the time, man, beef. Right?
So when you say you require a lot of attention, what do you mean? Like,
I love words of affirmation.
Okay.
I love being validated. I love physical touch. And I don't mean just like in a sexual sense. Right. More just like a simple hand on the shoulder, a simple gesture. Right? These things are very important to me because that's how I receive love. Right. Right? So unless you're willing to check off all those boxes, like I'm not the avoidant type. No, I'm the anxious attached type. I'm the preoccupied type. Yeah. Hey, you okay? You all right? Are you sure you all right? You need me to go get you something? No, I'm fine. All right.
2 minutes later.
Listen, are you sure you're okay? Because listen, I feel bad for my fiance. Right? First of all, let's just talk about that. Like I put her through the ringer. Right? And I still do. Right. But it's funny because earlier I had told her, I was like, listen, thank you for your patience and understanding. Right. Because I literally showed up in shambles. And I think earlier you guys had touched on, like, if I don't check off these boxes, or if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, or if I'm not, doing the providing and the protecting, I'm doing all of these things, then what am I as a person, right? Yeah. So then when I decided to get into a relationship with her, it was just like, she's Miss Independent. She don't need no man. Right. Right. She pay her bills. She's a truck driver too, by the way. Right. Yeah, for sure. So then it's just like, when she told me, I don't need you.
Ego. Bruise.
Yeah.
But I want you. So, now we talking.
Right.
But wait, what do you mean you don't need me? She's like, nah, I pay all my own bills. I can carry my own groceries. I take my own car to the mechanic.
She chose you.
And that's what I had a problem with. Because all of my life, up until that moment, I had a role to play. Yeah. And I had shoes to fill. And I had expectations to meet. Yeah. Now I meet this person who don't need not a darn thing from me. It's like, so what do I do? What am I supposed to just sit and relax? I don't know how to do that.
Gotcha. But do you think you're in a place now where you could say your thoughts and your emotions are regulated?
Oh, listen, weekly check-ins with my lady. And I mean my therapist.
Okay.
Weekly check-ins. Right? Listen, I would shout her out by name, but I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if we're supposed to do that or not, right?
It's up to you, but she can never ethically, legally
talk about your name.
Weekly check-ins, right? And mental health is so important to me right now that it's number one in my list,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously, it's my mental health, because if I'm not good, nothing else falls in order, right? So, am I regulated now?
Yeah.
I'm probably more in tune with myself now at the age of 37 than I've been my entire life.
So what does that look like on a daily basis to you, like mental health?
Okay, so for context, I'm an overnight truck driver,
Okay.
right? I usually wake up about 10:30 at night. The very first thing I do is I just sit at the edge of my bed. Alarm goes off. I don't do anything else before I sit on the edge of my bed. And I kind of just like, okay, how am I doing? Do I feel stressed? Do I feel overworked? Do I have a requirement? Do I have a need I need at the moment, right? I just do like this quick checklist. And then it's like, okay, let's start getting ready for work. As I'm getting ready for work, I'm starting to go through what my night's gonna look like, okay? My fiance and I, we work together, right? So then it's just like, hey, let me tap in real quick. You good? We're all set. You need anything from me? I'm gonna go on my own way. I'm gonna go and start getting us ready for work. And then it's identifying, how do I feel at that very moment, right? Being an overnight truck driver is tough.
Yeah.
It's mentally draining. So my very first approach is, how's this doing? Do I feel foggy? Am I feeling scrambled eggs again? Am I clear? Can I clearly identify how I feel?
Right.
I'm good. Nothing's wrong. We move on.
Got it.
Right?
And Danielle, is that something you recommend for clients, just to do like a
1000%.
daily checkup? You know, so like, you know, you literally checking on yourself, right? You
could be
look at yourself in the mirror.
No, listen, and you have to, right? And because a mistake I made, a big mistake that I made, was feeling guilty for needing to sit.
Wow.
Once again, had to perform for love, had
Yeah.
to perform from affection. Sitting around was not something that was welcomed in my household.
Yeah.
Right? So with the job that I have, with the life that I live now, right? My kids live an hour away. I have a very demanding job. I also have a relationship that I'm committed to, right? I'm also joining her in raising her child, right? There's expectations put on me, but I'm okay with those because I understand what they are. So in order for me to fulfill those, or in order for me to meet those, I got to make sure I'm okay.
Right.
Daily check-ins, weekly approach with a professional, because when I did it on my own,
Yeah.
it became a mess,
Yeah.
a real bad mess.
Wow.
Right? So now it's that. I keep a journal. I drive, right? So a lot of my time overnight is just, it's me and my thoughts.
Gotcha.
Because me and my fiance, we work together, but she's in her truck, I'm in my truck. That's our alone time.
Right.
Right? You're over there, I'm over here. And I'm usually listening to a podcast, I'm listening to music, I'm making sure that this is organized. So by the time my morning time comes around, when I'm talking to the kids, when I'm feeding into others, I'm good. I'm all set. I'm good.
It's not robotic anymore.
No,
It's genuine.
because before it was work. Oh, wait, I need
Yeah.
a break. Let me sit down for 3 minutes. Okay, I got to get up again and keep moving.
So Danielle, from a professional standpoint, can you expand on that, the importance of that routine a little bit?
The checklist.
Yeah.
So being accountable for yourself, right? So remember I told you, like, if I can accept what's going on with me, I can move forward and get what I need, right? So for example, Eddie's talking about this checklist. If he got to a point where he said, oh, this area is not okay.
Yeah.
Then there comes that intervention of, I need to do something about this, or I need to insert somebody to help with this, right?
Right.
So for example, I need to sit down,
Right.
right, for 3 minutes or 5, whatever it is. Knowing that I need to do that because I realize that my back hurts, so I need to sit down, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that checklist is important. So it's a mental inventory on
Yes,
yourself.
that's the phrase I was looking for.
Yeah.
A mental inventory.
Mental inventory on yourself to know if I need something or if I don't, so that if I do need something, I could take that next step to get that intervention to get that need met.
Right.
So I'm not scrambling. I'm meeting that need. I'm taking care of that part of me, and then I move forward.
Running on
Got it.
fumes, overexhaustion, overexertion,
Yeah.
right? Making sure everybody's cup is filled, but there's a hole at the bottom of mine.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's not only knowing what you need, it's communicating it.
Yeah,
Got it.
and with who you need it from, right?
Yes.
Because again, it's not always your partner. It could be from your kid. It could be from, again, a therapist, as you say. It could be from your job. I need time off.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
So, and being okay with having that conversation and asking and executing that area.
Right.
at the end of the day, that accountability goes the wrong way because you're the leader of your life. So
Absolutely.
you need to be the one
Yeah.
divvying up rules and telling people what
Yeah.
you need, right?
Yeah.
Don't sit and wait for somebody to figure out that, you're drowning.
Because guess what? They're not gonna show up.
No,
Right.
they're
No,
not.
listen.
They're not
Fun
gonna
fact.
read
Fun fact. Nobody's gonna come save you.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
Right?
Yep.
Nobody's gonna throw you a life raft or
Just-
the
Is this you
the
and
thing that they throw in the pool when you're drowning, right?
Is this you and Google?
Yeah, it's me in Google while I'm putting my kids to sleep.
Yeah. So Danielle, going back to 2021, right? I want you to speak to the Eddie who was Googling his symptoms.
Oh, but
why
we're not
am I
gonna do that.
alright?
Where's the tissues?
What would you?
Wait,
because-
wait a
because-
minute. You
listen.
ain't told me who was doing this. All right,
Tell me
okay.
how you feel. No, sir.
Oh goodness. Listen.
No, what I want to point out is, there are a lot of those Eddies, right? If I may
Yeah.
use that right now, that's,
Yes.
probably in the same state of mind, who's struggling with it. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to approach it. So what would you have told, that Eddie?
If that version of Eddie came to me
Yeah.
within therapy,
Right.
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say why now because I want to know what happened. So tear jerker, you're gonna explain to me that moment,
Yeah.
of sitting down and your son taking that photo,
Right.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna say what took you so long,
Yeah.
right?
What took you
so
so
why
long?
now? What took you so long? And then I'm gonna kind of tap into how do we get here,
Yeah.
right? So that's where that family of origin, that journey, those connections or relationships, and that's how I ended up finding out where the flaw was, like where the breakdown of everything really truly happened. And again, childhood adversity, trauma, right, would be a big root. And how did you continue this?
Yeah.
Because you have a role here too, right? Yeah,
that's a fact,
So
right,
there's
yeah.
two parts to it, right?
Yeah,
So that's how we kind of start to uncover these things. And once we
Right.
uncover and get to a point that we've talked enough where you understand, because not just for me to understand, as I'm uncovering and making connections, I'm teaching you these things. Because as I said, with your basic brain and what I learned in school,
Yeah.
two different things. I'm on the outside looking in. You're living this every day. So you're not
Right.
realizing, oh, when my brother poked me, that really upset me when I was 5. Like, you're not going to think of it that way.
Yeah.
But when I'm bringing it out of, wow, your brother poked you and that is the catalyst for everything, you're not realizing, right? So again, I'm bringing these connections and I'm sharing them with you so you understand, and then we can get to the point of intervention. So what do we do about it now?
Yeah, yeah.
I need you to do this, and this. And that's where the challenge comes in, because if I'm asking you to do something
Right.
based off of what we know, we've
Yeah.
accepted, and you come back and you didn't do it, do you really want to change?
Yeah.
Accountability.
Are you
That's-
sure?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of the lead up of how therapy sort of works. So it is a long process.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. You have people that come in and think, oh yeah, come to therapy, you're gonna fix me. I'm not here to fix you. I'm not even here to give you advice.
I'm here to show you what's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm here to show you
Yeah.
what's going
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
and help you work through. I'm here to support you.
Right, right.
And to even to know what support even looks like. Because I said, I'm not gonna be that mom,
Right.
that boy mom, right? Where I'm gonna say it's okay. No, it's not okay.
You're right.
It's
You're
not
right.
okay. It's an issue. We need to resolve this. Here's some interventions and tips I'm going to encourage you with to
Right.
resolve whatever that is. When you leave this room, the accountability and the onus is on you. When you come back, I'm going to poke you
Right.
and say, oh, well, what happened? And I'm going to get to the point, if I see that you're not doing anything, is my role effective enough?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
'Cause
And
you
then
don't
that's when you're going to, I'm holding your feet to the
Yeah.
fire now.
You don't want it to be a waste of time. I mean,
No.
hey, you know what? You do you get paid for the session, but at the same time, I think it's more rewarding when you see they're, improving.
Yeah,
They're,
definitely.
they're following through with what you're, I guess, advising them on.
Definitely.
You know?
So you mentioned tears a while ago, and I want to tell you what I do to my clients, right? Well, when we were more in person, I'm more virtual now.
Mm-hmm.
When clients are crying, I don't give tissues. You know why?
Why?
Let them
That's
cry.
Suppressing. Let it out.
Let them
Oh,
cry.
I'm wearing my shirt.
Let them cry.
That's fine. Let it out though. You could maybe do this a little bit, but it has to come out.
Okay. All
I,
right.
don't, I want the raw emotions to come out.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to stop yourself from feeling.
Deal with it.
So I don't offer tissues.
Emotionally,
You might have
no.
snot coming out of your nose. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need to see it.
He's your
Yeah.
And then guess what I'm going to do
yeah.
after?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did those tears mean
Yeah.
in that moment? Because tears
Yeah.
mean something different every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not always sadness.
Yeah.
It could be disappointment. It could be
Yeah.
happiness. It could be joy.
Yeah.
So now I want to expand on what does that mean. Everything has a meaning.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's what I do to my clients. So no tissues.
That-
No tissues?
No
All right,
tissues.
bet.
That's awesome. No
tissues.
tissues.
Yeah.
All right. So Danielle, you're saying no tissues for your clients when they cry.
No.
Okay.
Oh man.
Is that allowed? Can I just?
Absolutely. I'm just not going to give you any, of course.
So,
All right.
Eddie, I want to take you back to when you were Googling. So, how did you find the therapist? Oh, I know you identified the symptoms, and then it told you, well, you need to contact a mental health therapist.
Yeah.
So, how was that about? How did that come about?
My first encounter with a therapist was when I had already decided I want to get divorced.
Okay.
Was when a lot more irreparable damage was done, right? We had approached the pastors of the church at the time, and they recommended counseling. I had my mind made up. Can't nobody tell me different, right? Because one thing that I would repeat a lot was that I've given so much of myself. The little bit that I was able to find, I'm saving it. It's mine. It doesn't belong to anybody. My entire life, I've been selfless.
Right.
Selfless, right? I've given it all.
Yep.
I finally found who Eddie is, and it's not who I thought he was. This is mine. This belongs to me.
Right.
Right? So we go and we meet with counselors, pastors, but he was a therapist. So after we had our initial meeting, right, my ex-wife and I, we sat with them. He told me on the side, hey, yo, Ed, we need to have a conversation. Here's my number. Reach out to me. Schedule something. I'll give you just a session on the house, but I need to speak with you.
Right.
And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I knew I wasn't okay. I knew work had to be done.
Right.
I knew I needed a therapist. It was just that impulse, that first Google, I need a therapist, find a therapist in the area. I was just gonna boop, hey, listen, do you do therapy? All right, bet, I need you. It was that. So when it came from somebody who realized it without me having to say it, it was just like, all right, I'm gonna have to run with this.
Right. Right.
Call him up, have a session with him, and it lasted 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And for 2.5 hours, I cried.
Wow.
Because I couldn't answer a question without that just.
Yeah. Yep.
And the first question he asked me was, how are you doing? Oh, gosh, I'm not fine. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I just like, I would choke on my words, and it was just like floodgates. Floodgates and scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Right? He helped me organize my thoughts. And then he said, listen, you need a lot more work. Okay? You need a lot more work. So I'm going to slide you this number.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a referral.
Right? I'm going to slide you this number. Call them. There's a personal conflict of interest here, so I can't be your guy.
Right.
Right? But I know these people. What you need, you can get it from them.
Yeah.
And literally the next day, so-and-so told me to call you. She's like, are you all right? No. Okay, all right. You're going to be okay is what she told me.
Yeah.
Took a deep breath. I'm at Nets at the time. I'm still teaching.
Yeah.
Right? So now I got class to go teach.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And that was it. Somebody realizing for me, somebody making, or not making a decision because I knew I had to, somebody giving me that push that I knew I needed.
Support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? Wait, what? I'm a man. I get supported?
Support.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it looks
why
like.
it's so important when
Yeah.
you see something.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it as a partner. Hey,
Yeah.
you all right? What's
Yeah.
going on?
I mean, tapping into my marriage a little bit, right? At the time, the support, it was come and go, right? In her defense, she had her own thing going on. She had her own trauma. She had
Goes both
everything.
ways.
Yes. So, in hindsight, like I mentioned earlier, we bled on each other a lot. She needed therapy just as bad as I needed therapy. She had a lot of undoing to do just as much as I had to.
Gotcha.
So coming to that realization, the problem is that the moment my vulnerability got weaponized against me, I'm done. I'm out. We're not doing this. No way.
So now that it's been a couple of years and you're looking back at at that first moment, are you able to identify what was wrong?
Listen, I keep a journal on tap.
Yeah.
And if I can't type, hey Siri, write this down for me. This is what
Gotcha.
I'm feeling right now. Identifying the feeling, what triggered it.
Okay.
If I have a random memory, where's it coming from, right? Because dealing with childhood trauma, I mourn the child I was not able to be.
Wow.
Right? Here we go. We tapping into some things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mourned the child of who I was supposed to be. My kids remind me of that. I remember at one time, I had told my ex-wife, I said, I'm kind of jealous of our kids.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? I said, because they get to live a life that I always wanted.
Well, that's our job as parents, right?
Exactly.
We
So
have
it
to
was
provide.
it was like a pro and a con for me,
Yeah.
right? Because here I am making sure my kids don't experience what I ever experienced. They have no
Right.
idea what struggle looks like, right? But I'm not emotionally in tune with myself to be able to give them that. But then at the same time, I was just like, man, I never got to do that.
Yeah.
Like Ezra's 9, he's about to be 10 in July, right? By the time I was 9 to 10 years old, man, listen, I'm calling bill collectors. I'm telling the landlord why we can't pay the rent.
Yeah,
I'm
Wow.
doing so. Listen.
Yeah.
I've been working since I was 13 years old.
Yeah, you were forced to grow up, a lot sooner than you.
And
had
like I
to.
said, Grandma, I love you, but
Yeah.
man, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said something important a while ago, though. Giving my kids a life that I didn't have,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and being jealous of them because of the mental health work that you're doing. You're not going to project jealousy
Yeah.
onto them.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about
A lot
that.
of parents do
Listen,
that.
they take
That's
it out
true.
on their kids.
Yep, that's
they
true.
take it out on their kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Danielle, for someone who's contemplating therapy, they're wrestling with that idea right now. What are the first 3 things that they would need to do in order to start that journey?
Well, for starters, I'd find a platform like Psychology Today to kind of search up therapists. I like Psychology Today because you can read bios, you can see photos, you can see payment. Obviously payment's a huge deal, right? Like,
Sure.
can I afford this, right?
Right.
Just do some almost like shopping, right? Shopping, window shopping for therapists, see what feels comfortable. That's first step, right?
Yeah.
Have a consultation, feel that person out, have a conversation, right? It could be over the phone, could be video. Then once you've kind of done that, make a decision on who you want to work with and start the process. And I want to make it very, very clear. Just because you start the process doesn't mean you have to stay with that therapist forever. As I said earlier, right?
Yeah.
I know people who said, I've been with this therapist for 15 years. And I'm
Yeah.
like, 15 years?
And you're still there?
You're still there?
Still in the same spot.
I am concerned, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, as you're going through the journey and going through sessions and creating treatment plan goals and making connections with this clinician, building a rapport, getting challenged, figure out if they really work for you.
Yeah.
Don't just sit through it because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. The work is about you. It's not about the clinician. They are just a facilitator and supporter.
Yep.
They're not here to feel sad about what you did. And if they feel that way, that does not need to be your therapist at all.
Got it.
But understand that there is a clear vetting process that you need to do for yourself. It's just like, again, choosing a car, choosing anything else. Go through your vetting process
Right.
to select this person. And if they work, you do the work with them.
So anybody who's watching this, how do they get in touch with you?
With me?
Yes.
Listen,
I assume you're still taking clients, right?
I'm always taking clients. You know why? I hope that there are clinicians that do what I do and they are how I am, and I have yet to identify, especially African American therapists in the area that do what I do. So I would love to be able to refer people out, but
Okay.
try to take on who I can.
Right.
I am on Psychology Today. First and
Okay.
last name, obviously Danielle Wright. I'm on medias too. I have different LLCs. Talk to the Lady LLC is one of them. Another one is Right Perspective LLC, where I do a lot of the consulting to help people find a therapist.
Okay.
So I'm pretty Googleable. Okay.
Googleable.
Hey, there we go.
Google me.
Yeah. Well, we'll add your information
Sounds good.
somewhere on the screen. But yeah, so it's awesome. Again, people who are struggling, so they can reach out. Yeah. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough. This was very, very impactful, very heavy, but very impactful. I think it was well needed. It was well needed. As we said, there are people out there who are, struggling with thoughts, right? Whether it's suicidal thoughts or battling the idea of they're a failure. So those are things that they actually need to talk to someone about. So I'm happy that we were able to, to share your experience, Eddie. And then also you too, Danielle, talk about your professional experience and being available for people to reach out to you and talk to you. So that's awesome. So, thank you again for being part of the show. We appreciate it. Well, guys, we are at the end of our show today. So again, like I said, this was a heavy topic for us, but it was well needed. As you know, there are people who are struggling with this in private. And if you happen to be someone who's dealing with this right now, I just want to let you know, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do this alone. Danielle is here. We'll have her information out so you can reach out to her. If you don't want to reach out to her, feel free to reach out to somebody. As long as you're talking to somebody, that's what we want. We want to make sure that you are okay. And in the words of Eddie, it's okay not to be okay. So find yourself a therapist. Find yourself someone to talk to help you process the thoughts and the things that you are dealing with. Again, as I always say, we talk about divorce a lot. I'm not a supporter of divorce, but if you do find yourself to be going through a divorce, we understand, and we know, just reach out to someone for help. And as we said, you don't have to do it alone. And thank you for watching our show today. And don't forget, live every day as if it is your last day, because one day it will be. I'm JR. Thanks for watching 2.0. I'll see you next time.